Welcome back. Now, this week, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed a 2024 appropriation bill into law. Speaking at the signing of the bill, the president assured Nigerians that the implementation of the budget will be efficiently pursued and vigorously monitored. He noted that the top priorities of the 2024 budget of 28.7 trillion naira are defense and internal security, job creation, macroeconomic stability, improved investment environment, human capital development, poverty reduction, and social security. The president emphasized that his commitment to enhance investment promotion while creating a rule-based society that favored no individual over the law begins with important reforms in the Nigerian judiciary, the funding for which is captured in the 2024 Appropriation Act. Now, joining me to discuss this is Ibrahim Garba, a political analyst and ready to roll with us. Ibrahim Garba, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now quickly, for the first time in a long while, we are looking at a budget that is more in capital expenditure than recurrent expenditure. Now, break it down for us in a common man's language, why you think this is very exciting to hear.
Oh, thank you very much once again for having me. I'm going to start with a simple analogy. That is, we have two young men nursing ambition as civil servants or as workers within an organization. You know, while one had a plan to, have a house, and at the same time have all necessary things available before going into marriage. On the other hand, the other person decided on his own to go into this marriage, living in a rented apartment, and at the same time having babies, children, not taking into consideration the costs that come with maintaining a family. So the other person who has, made a plan before going to marriage, for instance, he has his house to avoid rent, and at the same time, he's embarking on, programs and projects to ensure that even if he starts a family, he will be able to manage the family. There will be less pressure on him. So if you look at these two scenarios, you discover that going forward, there's going to be pressure on the other person who failed to plan, going into marriage, living in a rented apartment on a fixed salary going forward. So I just want to start with this analogy just to make you understand the situation of the country today concerning the budget. Previous years in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, we found that we have a lot of money in circulation, but we fail to plan because we have the oil boom and we focus on mono economy, which is we depended solely on oil productions to service our budget. That is on one hand. Then coming forward, within the years of Jonathan administration, where we have crude oil selling as high as $100 per barrel, we failed to save money for rainy days. We did not fund infrastructures. Monies meant for projects were diverted and all that. So the level of corruption was so high that you don't have money for infrastructural development. Now, coming forward towards the Buhari administration, you find out that there's much money to be invested in infrastructure and other recurrent expenditures. And that means the only alternative he has is to go into borrowing. And borrowing, he continues without looking at other alternatives, innovative ways to rebase the economy. Because if you continue to borrow, to fund, to pay salaries and pay subsidies on oil and all that, you are not going to have enough money to fund infrastructure or other capital projects. So this was the system during Buhari's administration. And that is why you find out the budget, for instance, yearly budget, 1/4 of it goes into subsidies, and the others goes into recurrent expenditure. So we have an economy that is weak; it's not on its feet. And thank God for the incoming administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A lot of people were skeptical about his coming. What is he coming to do? Right from the first day, he fired the first salvo by telling us Nigerians that yes, subsidy is gone. And by telling Nigerians that means we should embrace reality. Subsidy going automatically means that we are going to free up money to take care of other infrastructures. And between that time, 6 months headlong, you found that a lot of money was saved. Now, apart from that, there was a need for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to block leakages. He succeeded in doing that, and that is why he went after those that looted the treasury. You and I know what happened over these few months he spent in office. So coming forward, planning the budget, right from the first time, or rather last time they reviewed the budget, the coordinating minister of the economy, Wale Edu, mentioned that unless we develop innovative and creative ways, we are going to find it very, very difficult to manage the economy because, one, we're operating on 98% deficit. How can Nigeria survive? So if you look at it theoretically, you find that Mr. President took a bold decision. All we need to do is to support him, be patient while he fixed the refineries, because putting money into these refineries to fix them definitely will help us to develop further and, reduce, crashing down the price of petroleum products as soon as Nigerian refineries begin to work. A lot has been said concerning the refineries by different people, but I see it as a big step towards giving us a lifeline.
All right, thank you very much. Now, quickly, the top priorities of the budget: defense and internal security, job creation, macroeconomic stability, and of course, improve investment and environment. Now, human capital development, poverty reduction, and social security. Now, the poverty reduction aspect, how should this be implemented to impact the common man almost immediately?
Oh, well, thank you very much. The last time I came here on the program, I mentioned one thing. The focus should be more on human capital development. At the same time, we should empower the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Social Development, that is Better Edu. Her office have a critical role to play in this dispensation because we have a lot of dropouts. We have a lot of people who don't have access to capital. And we have women in our villages that are living below the poverty line. What do we need to do? We need to meet these people at the grassroots, empower them. How do we empower them? We tried to trade our money during the last administration. But when I came here, I mentioned one thing. Because of the previous experience, in which if you check what the EFCC is doing concerning, recovery of public funds and through the former minister, there's a need for us to develop more creative ways. What are the creative ways we should be looking at? We have 774 local governments across the nation. Now, with this, we have supervisory councillors. Why not deal directly with the supervisory councillors? Now, dealing directly with the supervisory councillors, they know the grassroots, they know where it pinches, they know who to support. And that when you do that, it's not just about supporting, creating avenues for people to make money. It's not just because giving money out, 25,000, 30,000 and all these things does not help the economy to grow. Rather, we should have a plan to make sure that we patronize cooperative societies at the grassroots. And when we give them this money, they go into investment. I think this is one of the ways I believe improve.
Okay, Mr. Ibrahim, very quickly, before we let you go, I have this very important question. Now, if you take a look at the last administration of 8 years, you can tell that the setbacks and the mishaps that happened in that administration is giving people a reason not to trust government anymore. Right now, every single idea that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to implement is settling on fragile patience. Now, how do you think the people's confidence can be boosted? What do you think can be done to immediately rekindle that confidence of the people with what is happening right now with the budget that has just been signed into law?
It's very simple. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is no God. He's a human being like you and I. And we need to begin to do more of public orientation. The Federal Ministry of Information should do more in giving out more information about government policies and what the government is doing to alleviate sufferings of the people. And at the same time, you see, what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially in areas of public assets and recovery of public funds, is an example to show the people that this man means business. For quite a while during previous administration, people were arrested, and there's this through courts, people pay their way in and they go away with the money. But look at what Olukoyede is doing, for instance. Let me give you an example with what happened recently. They tracked this money, and this money a lot of them were recovered. Over 90% of this money is recovered. It shows you that this man means business. So if somebody has hit the ground running like that, all we do as Nigerians is, support this and give him that benefit of that. At least give him 1 year to see how far and what is going to happen. But if you start criticizing almost every step he's taking, calling him names. We're not going anywhere. By the way, this is Nigeria. This is our country. We must, as stakeholders, do all within our powers to ensure that this economy works for all.
All right, we're running against time here. Well, let's move on to the final story quickly before we let you go. And finally, operatives of the EFCC conducted a search operation at the Lagos head office of the Dangote Group. The Economic and